It's Sunday night. It's 9 o'clock. Welcome to the sanctuary. Woo-hey! A very good evening to you and welcome to the sanctuary. It's great to see you and I hope that you've had a good few weeks. Last week we had a week off because of half term. And this week we are welcoming Jess and Hedd as they're going to be talking about National Carers Week and what it means to them to be parents and also to care. And we have the wonderful Cath Woolridge and Tim Phipps who are going to be bringing us music a little bit later in the program. So sit back, enjoy, hopefully be entertained and also be challenged as we think about how God is working in our world today through very ordinary people.
You dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you find me somewhere over the rainbow. Up high in the land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Way that I heard of once in a lullaby.
So this week is National Carers Week 2021, and the strapline for this year is visible and valued. And I'm sure that everyone would agree that both paid and unpaid carers have had a year this year like no other. And there has been a visibility that maybe we haven't experienced before as carers. And I think it's really important that this week and in all of the weeks and months to come, that we really do value the carers in our society and the immeasurable amount of hours and love and compassion that they pour into the people that they're caring for.
So we thought we would share a little bit of our journey and our family life. We have a beautiful, beautiful family. We're very lucky. We've got 8-year-old twins, one of whom has been statemented autistic, and the other is very likely to be statemented ADHD very soon. We have a lovely 5-year-old who's considered more able and talented, and we've got a 3/30-year-old younger one who's a beautiful, cute little dictator. So it's a very fun, it's a very lively, it's a very noisy house. But we're very lucky, aren't we, to have the boys. We love them to bits, and it's great. But we thought we'd share a little bit about what it's like being a carer and the challenges, the pluses and negatives of that. So to kick off, Jess, do you want to share a bit? What was it like when we first discovered that, especially Caleb was going to be statemented autistic, and then how the family model might change slightly?
Yeah, I think all parents, we say when we're pregnant or when we're kind of preparing ourselves to become parents that all we care about is that our kids are healthy. Yeah. And we're really blessed that our children are physically extremely healthy. Yeah. But I think with anything, when you get thrown something that might be considered a curveball, it's difficult to know how you're going to respond in those situations. And I think that it's almost like a two-wave thing. So for me, I felt like there was that initial sort of, okay, this is happening, our child is autistic, and in many ways we kind of knew that was coming, didn't we? Yeah. So it wasn't total kind of out of the blue shock, but there is still that kind of pressing feeling of, okay, well, what does this mean for right now? And then you find yourself having to learn this whole new language and go to all of these appointments and have to retell the story over and over and over again, and that can be incredibly draining and overwhelming. And then you have to worry about like school, isn't it? Like that is a really big fight, and there's probably people watching this evening who are going through that. I mean, and we're back in that situation again now, aren't we? Trying to make sure that your child is provided for educationally, and then you're thinking about the future. So that was almost like wave number 2. Okay, what does this mean for the other boys, for us? What does this mean for how we parent them? Fighting that guilt of, oh, well, I don't want to channel too much into one child, so I want them all to feel equal, but then I don't want that child to feel neglected. And it is just this absolute roller coaster, isn't it, of emotions. And I think mostly because it's unknown. You're stepping into this world that is completely alien to you if you're not autistic or whatever the need might be. And you want to get it right, don't you? I think that's the biggie. You really want to do right by your children, and the pressure of that is it's real, isn't it? Yeah. Did you find that too?
Yeah, definitely. There's a balance, and especially with, I think, the change of family model. To when your children are fully aware of the situation around them, when they know the dangers around them, when they know how to communicate, when they know kind of what's expected of them with their behavior. You go places and you know, in a way, you know how they're going to behave, you know what it's going to do. It's all pretty expected.
Yeah.
And then with Caleb, when we take him out, he doesn't know what's around him. He doesn't know the danger. He doesn't know where he's meant to go, what he's meant to do. What Caleb cares about is his world, what he sees in front of him, what he needs. So he needs to play with his iPad. He needs to be able to control his surroundings and the noise and everything. So the family model changes that. One of you, really, time is more given to him.
Yeah.
But also for the boys, I mean, they are fantastic, and especially his twin brother,
Yeah.
in also looking after him. And you say, oh, can you hold Caleb's hand while we cross this road? Can you do this? And they are fantastic. They're mini carers as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're so good at it. So
Yeah.
it is a different family model, but it's still a very fun, healthy, enjoyable life, isn't it? But it's
completely.
just finding, and it has been really hard, isn't it, to find a balance. How do we do it in a way, like you were saying, so everybody's happy, everybody's enjoying being together as a family, but everyone goes home end of the day happy and fun.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to keep at the forefront of our minds as well, isn't it? Is that fun is Cal's middle name and mischief, probably more than anything. And he's got some amazing quirks, hasn't he?
He has. He finds joy in things which other people find joy, but you probably think you shouldn't be allowed to. So he's got a thing, and Toby can say it openly, he's got a thing about people of a heavier set, should we say. So he particularly enjoys wiggling any kind of wobbly bits you've got on you, so your belly, the fat on your thigh, your bum, and he doesn't care who you are. He'll quite happily pick on a teacher, he'll pick on a stranger if they're sat next to each other, and if he thinks, oh, that's funny, look at that moves, nobody else would do that because that's socially not acceptable. Why am I doing that? It isn't socially acceptable. But for him, who cares? I'm going to do that because I find that funny. And women in particular put their phones top pockets or sometimes on the top of their tops and things, and he sees them doing that. If he wants that phone, he doesn't know I'm not meant to put my hand anywhere near there. He just wants the phone. Tunnel vision, I want the phone. So whether he knows you, you're a family member, or you're a complete stranger, so it can get quite interesting, can it, in play centres.
Play centres,
and he's got his hands everywhere they shouldn't be, and you're trying to quickly explain, I'm really, really sorry, he's autistic, or you're trying to grab him before he does it, or you're trying to explain to him, no, we don't do that. And you can explain all you want, but he just sees, I want a phone. I need to be able to control, shut down, go into my little world where I can control this device, because I'm a bit stressed with all this noise. That's what he gets. So everything you've taught him goes out the window because it's all too much.
Yeah.
But it is fun when he does that. And like when you go to the beach, he will just sit on the edge of the water and he for hours and hours and hours. Just love feeling the waves lapping over his feet, love feeling the sand in between his toes. Just taking great pleasure in creation that we just take for granted and just keep walking past. He will sit there for hours and think, well, this is amazing. If I'm going to enjoy it for a long time. And that is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that almost, when we do have those times at the beach as a family and we see him in an environment where every single one of his senses is being stimulated, if that was in almost like a constructed environment, like a play centre, it's total sensory overload, isn't
Massively,
it? But there's something about creation, the beach, going out to the woods, where it's almost like there's this perfect harmony. And it kind of feels like God has gifted that to him, doesn't it? Like you see that connection between him and God's goodness through creation in a way that we don't see anywhere else, do we really?
But then all that said, we're making it sound very beautiful now. There are some very stressful, challenging times.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a few more? Maybe go to the beach again. What can then happen to be stressful for you as a carer? With the other three boys, if, say, I've gone for ice cream with one of them, you're there with just Cal, what's the type of thing that can happen that can get you kind of hot under the collar?
Well, this might actually be a good time to do the VT. So we've got a VT to show you that will maybe give a bit of a picture of what it is like to be autistic in our very busy world.
Six, 7, 8, 9. Take my hand. naughty. I'm autistic, and I just get too much information.
Yeah, that VT, when I first saw it, really, really struck me. And I think that one of the challenges that we find is that Caleb is actually completely non-verbal. So he doesn't communicate with us vocally. And in a situation like a shopping centre or a really busy playground at the height of summer, he can find it difficult to express to us when he's feeling stressed or even excited or overwhelmed or unhappy with something. And sometimes they can be things that happen that we might enjoy or think is just part and parcel of the situation that we're in that might really, really distress him. And he can melt down. And as he's getting older, the meltdowns are becoming increasingly challenging. And if we're on our own, it is quite difficult. And I think what that can sometimes do is make us feel quite isolated. So there can be some weekends where if he's having a tough time, we might not leave the house for the entire weekend. And that obviously impacts on the boys. So we can sometimes just be kind of cooped up in the house for a couple of days. And I think as stressful as that can be, and sometimes the guilt kicks in and you feel like the other kids are missing out because they can't go to all the clubs that their friends are going to, and that can be, quite difficult as parents. But what it has also done, I think, has allowed us to be loved by so many people. We've got brilliant family who are extremely supportive, and we've got some amazing, really close friends who have taken some serious pressure off us. And we've got one family in particular who have, they've just been a lifeline. Sorry.
They've been very good at, I'm going to cut in here, very good at looking after the kids, taking them out to the park. The mum is so kind. She keeps popping up, even throughout the whole of lockdown. She came up every Saturday, a little bag of Welsh cakes. And the boys love it. They look forward to that talking. She said, why would she do that? Because she loves you.
Yeah.
And it means the world to them. So that family are very, very special and dear to us. And then our families, our parents, they're fantastic. When we go on holiday, they understand the pressure. They don't judge. They help when they can. But they're very good at asking us what would be helpful, not assuming. So we're very, very lucky in that case. But it's quite hard when things go wrong. He's broken about 9 laptops or phones or different devices out of frustration. And when he does it, you think, well, we're doing something wrong. And there are days when sometimes we cry because he's done so many things wrong. You think, what has he done to really help him grow? And sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes you feel like we're literally just keeping them alive. And we're failing because we're meant to be doing more than that. But we're not. I think some days you just got to accept are just like that. He's getting life skills and he is loved.
Yeah.
And he is in a happy home and he's developing in a speed that is good for him.
Yeah.
So the worst thing we can do is compare yourself, to other parents, to other children, to anybody else's education, forget everybody else. And we just need to learn to give Cal what he needs, and he's getting that, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
But it isn't easy, is it?
No, it's not. And I think one of the things that has been just a real positive learning experience is not taking the little things for granted, isn't it? Like, I think when you've got a child that does have additional needs, you don't have expectations. And that's not to say like, oh, I just don't expect anything of this. It's not in a negative way. You cherish each and every achievement, each and every milestone in a deeper way, don't you? It's like toilet training. I mean, we could have thrown a party for the whole street, couldn't we? It was so amazing. And with, another child, it might just be like, oh, they're out of nappies now, but it was just such a moment. And I think, just that the beauty in the simplicity of life, isn't it, has been something that I think this experience of parenting Caleb has taught us.
Yeah. So when you're talking about goals and achieving things, we always get asked the question, we're not offended by it, we're not having to go at anyone, but we always get asked, when will he talk, which is a natural question. I understand what people are asking. And the answer is we don't know.
No.
If ever, he might not. But how, especially with things like that in mind, the verse in Psalms, God says everyone is fearfully and wonderfully made in his image.
Yeah.
How does Cal, for you, fall into that then? Is Cal a failure? Did Cal fall short of that? Is Cal fearfully and wonderfully made in God's image?
150%. And I just feel like there's a purity in Caleb that there almost isn't in the other boys. Like you were talking about earlier, just the way that he just finds the joy in all things of life. He doesn't have a demanding nature. He's not kind of asking for the world. He will just live in each and every moment. And yes, there are hard moments, but he just has this incredible wry smile that he does, doesn't he? This little cheeky smile where he's just contented. And I think that's so beautiful. And I think one of the things that I find so incredibly comforting is knowing that he is fully made by God, means that he's fully known by God, and he's fully cared for by God. So yes, we are his earthly carers, and we can look after his physical needs, and we can give him the love that we can give him. But what God gives him, we'll almost never know, will we? And there's like a mystery to that. Like there is a whole mystery in faith, isn't it, and spirituality. But I just feel so incredibly just heartened by the fact that God can communicate to his soul. Like God knows Caleb, and he knows how to speak to him. He doesn't need words. And, I think one of the things, again, like that we do get asked, or I know that we do worry about, is the future. Like when we're not here anymore, like who's going to care for Cal? Like how do we figure that out? And knowing that no matter what happens, he will always be safe in the arms of God is more of a comfort than any human being that we could entrust him to, isn't it?
Yeah, that's something we've really been challenged at, isn't it? Whether you have children naturally, whether you adopt, whether you foster, it doesn't really matter where. As Christians, we believe they're not our children. They are God's children that we've been given the privilege to parent.
Yeah.
And those four were given to us, doesn't matter how they came. We have the privilege from God to parent them, to love them, and to raise them. And when you look at the way Jesus was with everyone, to where he said, "Let the little children come to me." He wanted that innocent, complete, open devotion to come and to love him, just to be the way you are. Like when the kids fall over, any of the four of them, when they fall over, they want their mum. They're in pain, they want their mum, they want to give them a touch. But even Oshan, as a 5-year-old, so you say, "Oh, come give us a clutch and a kiss." No, I'm a zoo manager. Zoo managers are cool and they're men and they don't give clutches. Go away. But if he falls over, he will. Yeah. But Cal, if Cal feels like, "I want a clutch now," there's nothing in him. There's none of that kind of human taught thing of, you've got to be cool, you've got to be a big boy. Yeah. He wants a clutch. He's come in and he's going to jump and he's going to give you a big clutch. Yeah. And he probably gets too close. But he loves,
that beautiful vulnerability,
got that
isn't it?
That you think, that is the God of love. That is in him. He's not even taught that. Yeah. But he wants to give that. Yeah. So I guess we're doing this segment, don't we? Because we've got carer friends, we're carers ourselves. We know it can be a really hard journey. It can be very lonely. It can feel very judged. Keep going. Yeah. You're doing an incredible work, whether you're a young carer or you're an older carer. I think we're very privileged. Like he is physically able. We don't do even the wheelchairs, the lifting. We don't help with the toilet training anymore. So I think we've got it quite easy compared to a lot of people who might be watching.
Yeah, and I think that's it, isn't it? Is that those we care for are fully seen and fully known and fully loved. And those of us who are the carers are also fully seen and known and loved. And in those challenging moments, and let's be honest, there are moments where you can feel like resentful, not of them, but of the situation and the challenges, and knowing that we can bring that before God and just be open and honest is what keeps us going, isn't it?
Yeah. If you need help, seek help in the right places, and if you want any information on kind of professional bodies who can offer assistance, please do get in touch and we'll put you in touch with them. Yeah. So we'd love to help. So please keep going, take heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cath is going to sing a song for us now that we asked her to sing, and it's a song called Goodness of God, and it just reminds us that through all things, God is always with us, and he is always good.
love you, Lord, for your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. The moment that I wake up till I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest night. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. I have lived in the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. I love you, Lord, for your mercies never fail me. All my days I've been held in your hands. The moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of my God. All my life you've been so faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. All my life you've been so faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. I'm gonna sing of the goodness of my God. I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. Well, I'm going to sing one more song now, and I think that this is probably one of my favorite songs. It's been sung by Louis Armstrong, it's been sung by Eva Cassidy. And I just love how this song points us to seeing the magnificent in what we take for granted and seeing the magnificent in the mundane. And, you know, I heard a story recently about there was a man in the subway in New York who got his violin out and started busking. And it was at rush hour and, you know, thousands of people passed him and didn't take any notice of this guy. And what they didn't realize was that this guy was Jonathan Bell, one of the most famous violinists in America. He earned $32 apparently in that morning, and he usually charges $1,000 for every 30 seconds he plays. And it just made me think of what we miss when we don't stop and recognize the beauty of what's around us. When we don't stop and we're so distracted that we don't see the magnificence of creation because it's around us every day. So as I sing this song, may we know that there is sometimes more magnificent in the mundane, in what we see every day than we could ever know. So let's take a moment to stop and recognize the wonderful world that we live in. Trees that are green, red roses too. I will watch them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow, and they learn so much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I see trees that are green, what a wonderful world. I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Wow, that was absolutely amazing, and thanks very much to Cath and to Tim for that great song and great close. Now, we come to the end of our show, and we hope that you've been encouraged and challenged by everything that's happened tonight. And Jess referred to one of my favorite psalms, Psalm 139, And it's a psalm that speaks very poignantly and very intimately about God's relationship with you, with all of us. I'll just read some verses from it, if I may. Verse 13 says this, "For you created my inmost being, and you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of the sand. And when I awake, I am still with you." Well, Cath has talked to us about being mindful of the wonderful world that we live in and seeing the grandeur and majesty of God's creation and of his input into that creation. And here's a thought to close this evening. As Jess and Hedd has talked about their journey of being carers and parents, I wonder, how do you view yourself? Because this psalm says that as our parents created our bodies, it's actually God who created our souls. When our bodies were formed in that secret place of our mother's womb, God was at work creating not just your body, but creating your soul. And according to David, he understood the fact that God delighted in his soul, that God understood his soul before he came into the world, and in the perfection of that soul, God had a plan and purpose for him as he walked into eternity. And maybe as we think about caring for others, we need to think about caring for ourselves and our own souls. Because sometimes we don't feel good about ourselves, we don't see wonder in ourselves, we don't see grandeur in ourselves. But this psalm says that God sees grandeur in you. And so tonight, as we close, take a look inside and recognize that God values you tremendously. Allow him to love you because he does. Don't push him away. Invite him to be a part of your world as Jesus desires to do so greatly. So come to the Father, come to the Son, come to the Holy Spirit, and allow him to love you as he already does. And so as you go on in this week, our prayer for you is a simple one, that you may know the love of God, not just as a concept, but as a reality. May God be with you. Amen.